Our story today begins in the cold heart of the medieval countryside, where the snow stretched endlessly across the land, blanketing villages, forests, and fields in icy silence. Imagine yourself stepping softly into that time, your boots crunching against frozen earth, your breath rising in delicate clouds before your face. The year is old, many centuries before the comforts of today. There is no central heating, no glowing electric light, no warm water to wash your hands or thick glass to shield the wind. The world was simpler, yes, but also far harsher. Winters pressed down like a heavy cloak, and every villager knew that survival depended not on ease, but on preparation. If you close your eyes, you can see a small village tucked into the folds of snow-covered hills. Wooden huts lean against the cold, their thatched roofs sagging beneath the weight of frost. Chimneys cough out thin trails of smoke, promising warmth inside. Dogs curl into balls for sleep. Chickens huddle silently in coops, and children peek through tiny wooden shutters. Eyes wide at the endless stretch of white outside. Step closer, and let yourself enter one of those huts. The wooden door creaks open, and the smell of smoke and earth greets you. Inside, it is dim, only the fire offering light, casting flickering shadows across rough wooden walls. The family huddles near the hearth, wrapped in furs and wool. The father's hands are rough from chopping wood, the mother's face weary from endless chores, and the children cling to warmth with sleepy sighs. You feel the crackling of the fire. You hear the popping of logs as sparks fly briefly before fading into glowing embers. This is their world, a small pool of heat in an ocean of cold. Outside, the winter is merciless. Snowdrifts rise high against the doors, ice creeps across the water buckets, and the wind sings mournful songs through every crack in the walls. Food is scarce. The fields are buried. Hunting is dangerous, and the preserved stores in the larder must stretch for months. Each bite of dried meat, each spoonful of barley stew is carefully measured. Hunger waits patiently at the edge. Every winter, testing human strength, imagine the taste of a thin broth, flavored only with onions or cabbage, steaming faintly in wooden bowls, shared among all. There's no feast, no luxury, only what must be eaten to endure. But not everything is suffering. There are moments of small comfort, the soft fur blankets made from sheep, the quiet murmur of prayers, the hush of voices telling stories by the fire. Listen, and you can almost hear the grandmother speaking, her voice low and steady, weaving tales of saints, of spirits in the forest, of kings and knights. Children's eyes grow heavy as her words lull them, much like my words are lulling you now. Outside, the storm howls, but inside the stories are a shield, and yet no one forgets how dangerous this season truly is. A fever in winter could mean death. A broken roof beam could invite the storm, and a forgotten log could let the fire die. And once the hearth grows cold, rekindling it is a desperate struggle. Each family guards its flame as though it were life itself, feeding it carefully through the night, never letting it fade into darkness. Imagine now sitting before that flame, watching the coals glow red, hearing them whisper as they shift. The warmth brushes against your cheeks while the rest of the room fades into cool shadow. Fire is steady, and with it, you two are steady, safe, and calm. The villagers work tirelessly, even in the bitter air, and march into the woods with axes to cut more firewood, boots crunching over the snow. Their breath comes hard, their hands sting, but they labor on, for every log is survival. Women tend to animals, brushing frost from their coats, milking cows with numb fingers, checking hens for eggs. Children gather sticks, fetch water from wells half frozen, their cheeks bright red with cold, and always the fear lingers. What if the food runs out? What if the animals perish? What if the winter does not end soon enough? Imagine yourself walking through that village as night falls. The sun, pale and thin, sinks behind icy hills. A blue twilight spreads across the snow. Candles flicker faintly inside windows one by one as families prepare for another long night. The church bell tolls softly, echoing across frozen fields. A reminder that faith was often all they had to hold onto. The villagers bow their heads, whispering prayers for strength, for survival, for mercy in the darkness. The air grows colder still. Frost paints the branches silver, stars pierce the black sky, and the moon rises pale and distant. The silence of winter is deep, so deep you can almost hear your own heartbeat. And yet, within the silence, there is beauty. The snow glitters under the moonlight, a vast ocean of crystal stretching into forever. The world feels still, enchanted like a dream. You take a slow breath in and a slow breath out and allow yourself to drift deeper. resting within the frozen landscape, safe in the knowledge that, just as the villagers endure, so too will you drift into warmth, into rest, into sleep. The medieval winter was misery, yes, but it was also a teacher of endurance, of simplicity, of finding light even in the darkest of nights. The villagers knew this, and as you listen, you too can feel it, the strength in stillness, the peace in survival, comfort in simply breathing, resting, and waiting for spring. Our tale of the medieval winter unfolds further, carrying you further away from the distractions of today, and drawing you into a world that feels both distant and yet close enough to touch. You are safe here, and you are calm, listening to the quiet turning of history, as though it were a lullaby told by time itself. The villagers of our story awaken to mornings wrapped in frost, when the breath of every man, woman, and child lingers in the air like a pale ghost. Imagine that chill now, not harsh upon your skin, but softened, like a gentle mist that brushes against your cheek before vanishing. The stone walls of cottages are damp and cold, yet a small fire crackles within, its glow golden and comforting, sending sparks that leap for only a moment before fading into the chimney's dark throat. The scent of wood smoke hangs in the air, mingling with the faint sweetness of baked rye bread. Coarse, but nourishing outside, snowflakes drift slowly like feathers from some great unseen bird, covering thatched roofs and pathways in a silent blanket. In these long winters, days seem to stretch endlessly, the hours marked not by clocks but by the chores that must be done. You can hear the soft rhythm of an axe striking wood in the distance, muffled by the snow, steady, reliable, like the heartbeat of survival. Each log carried inside is a gift of warmth, of light, of life against the darkness of the season. The villagers wrap themselves in wool cloaks and furs, their garments smelling faintly of lanolin and smoke, rough against the skin but holding in precious heat. Let your imagination settle into that sensation layers wrapping around you, snug and secure, protecting you as the world beyond remains icy and vast. Our story today brings you as to a family huddled together on a straw-strewn floor. The parents whisper softly, their words gentle and low so the children might drift back to sleep, despite the hunger in their bellies. A candle burns nearby, its wax pulling slowly, casting long shadows that dance upon the walls. The flame wavers, bends, then rights itself again, like a patient guardian watching over them. Think now of your own inner flame, steady, bright, guiding you safely through the night as you rest. Food is scarce in this winter. The stores gathered in autumn, the salted meats, the hard cheeses, the jars of pickled roots dwindle more quickly than anyone wishes to admit. Every meal is measured carefully, as though each bite of bread carries not only nourishment but hope. And yet, even in this scarcity, there is a rhythm, a quiet acceptance, a belief that spring will one day return. The crackling of the fire seems to whisper this promise, reminding them that nothing, even the coldest winter, lasts forever. Now, imagine stepping outside into the night with them. The moon hangs low and pale, a silver light glinting across snowfields that stretch beyond sight. The air is sharp, each breath a cloud. Somewhere, a wolf's distant cry drifts across the forest, hollow and haunting. Yet it blends into the stillness until it feels less like a thread and more like part of the night. As sung, the stars above shimmer clearly, thousands of pinpricks in the black velvet of the sky, their light ancient and unchanging. Looking up at them, the villagers feel small but connected, as though those stars also once watched their ancestors and will one day watch their children. Our story drifts further, following their days as they work through hardship with hands made strong by necessity. Women sit by the hearth, mending clothes with needles of bone, their stitches small and careful. Children gather close, their cheeks flushed red from the cold, as they play with wooden toys carved from scraps, their laughter fragile but real. Men venture into the woods, their boots crunching against ice, hunting for rabbits or deer to bring sustenance back to the village. The silence of the snow-covered forest surrounds them, the weight of the cold pressing gently. But every sound, the snapping of a twig, the rustling of a bird feels amplified, echoing as if the world itself were holding its breath. And through it all, life continues. Bells ring faintly in the distance, calling the faithful to the small wooden church at the village's edge. Inside, the air is cold, but the voices rise together in prayer, low and melodic, like a hum that vibrates in the chest. It is a song of endurance, of hope, of warmth born not from fire, but from belief and togetherness. The villagers bow their heads, and candles flicker in rows, their glow soft and golden against the carved beams overhead. In that space, the misery of the winter fades for a moment, replaced by peace, by quiet. by the rhythm of hearts beating together. And so, dear listener, as you rest, let yourself imagine being wrapped in this medieval winter. Not its misery, but its quiet lessons, the way small joys mattered. The way survival itself was a form of triumph. The way togetherness was as vital as food or fire. Picture the snow falling gently outside, endless and soft, muffling the world into a lullaby. Feel the fire's warmth brush against your skin, see the candle glow in the dark, hear the low murmur of voices soothing and steady. Each detail draws you deeper into relaxation, into calm, into rest. Our story is only just beginning, and yet already you are drifting into the rhythm of its gentle embrace. Where time slows and all is safe, breathe deeply now, letting the imagery of that winter night cradle you, the hush of snow, the crackle of fire, the quiet strength of endurance. This is the world you are entering, a place both fragile and strong, both harsh and deeply peaceful. The medieval winter may have been misery to live, but to dream of it now in the safety of your bed. It becomes a tapestry of sounds and sensations designed to ease you gently towards sleep. And so we leave the family by their hearth for now, watching the embers glow red against the dark, listening to the soft sighs of children finally, surrendered to dreams. Outside, snow continues to fall, silent and steady, promising another long day ahead. But for tonight, there is peace in their small world, and peace for you as well. The winter in these times was more than cold, it was a teacher. Every morning began with the groaning of timbers as frost worked its way into the beams of cottages. With the creak of doors that stuck in their frames from ice, villagers stirred early, though the Sioux, and lingered far below the horizon. Imagine the sound of roosters crowing faintly, muffled by snowdrifts, their cries fragile against the long dark before dawn. Men pulled on boots stiff with frost, fastening belts tight around their woolen tunics. They reached for tools, wooden rakes, axes, baskets, and stepped outside into the breath of the winter night. Their footsteps pressed into the snow with a crunch that seemed impossibly loud against the silence. The women rose too, stoking fires until sparks flew like tiny stars. The scent of peat, of burning pine, of smoke heavy in the rafters, imagine it filling the air, warm and earthy. Some stirred porridge in iron pots, its steam rising in ghostly whirls, while others salted what little meat they had left, sealing it in clay jars to last another week. These tasks were not luxuries, but survival, and each action was performed slowly, carefully, with reverence for the small comforts they offered. The children often woke to chores rather than play. Small hands gathered kindling, carried water frozen in buckets from the well, or scattered grain for chickens whose feathers puffed out against the cold. Yet in the pauses between work, laughter still came. They built figures from snow, round-bellied and crooked-armed, decorated with sticks and stones. Their cheeks burned red, their fingers stiff, but their eyes gleamed with mischief. Can you hear their laughter, thin and sharp in the frozen air? Like bells chiming in a distant tower, it carries across the village and lingers, a reminder that joy can survive even in the harshest seasons. As the day grew, the pale sun finally rose, its light weak but golden. It spread slowly over frozen fields, glistening on the frost that clung to every blade of grass, every branch, every rooftop. The snow sparkled like glass, like crystal beads scattered across the earth. Imagine looking out over that scene so still, so endless that it almost feels like time itself has paused. The only movement is the slow swirl of smoke climbing from chimneys, and the faint rustling of crows circling above, their wings cutting the silent air. By midday, the villagers gathered for small meals, though none were hearty. Bread, dense and heavy, sometimes dipped in broth stretched thin from bones and herbs. Sometimes a bit of dried apple, chewy and tart, was shared among many. Yet around the table, warmth existed not in the food, but in the togetherness. Faces lit by firelight, shadows softening lines of worry, voices rising in quiet stories of saints, of ancestors, of old winter survived. Each story was a thread that bound them closer, a reminder that hardship had always been endured and always would be. As evening descended again, the world sank back into shadow. Torches and lanterns glowed faintly, their light flickering over narrow lanes lined with snowbunks taller than a child. Villagers moved quickly, cloaks wrapped tight, their breath fogging the air. Beyond the village walls, the forest loomed black. Branches weighed heavy with ice, roots hidden under frozen ground. It was a place of both necessity and fear. Men sometimes went there to trap rabbits or collect fallen wood, but they knew the dangers well. Wolves, bandits, spirits whispered of in hushed tones by the fire. The forest in winter was alive with secrets, and its silence seemed to listen. Inside their cottages, the nights stretched long. Work shifted to quiet craft-carving tools, weaving baskets, spinning wool by candlelight. The hum of a spindle turning, the scrape of a knife shaping wood, the hush of whispers all blended into a lullaby of domestic life. Sometimes someone would sing softly a hymn or ballad learned from their elders. The melody would fill the room, low and tender, carrying with it the warmth of memory. Imagine sitting there, wrapped in furs, listening to the voice rise and fall, letting it ease you into stillness, yet not all was quiet. Hunger gnawed at bellies, illness swept through cramped cottages, and fear of scarcity lingered in every corner. A cough could spread quickly, the cold tightening its grip on the frail and the old. Villagers watched the candles burn low, wondering if they would last the season. Even so, their resilience was remarkable. They faced the misery with steadfast endurance, drawing strength from faith, from kinship, from the rhythm of survival itself. And so the winter dragged on, snow piled high against doors. Icicles hung long as swords from eaves. The river froze, its surface a sheet of glass that cracked and groaned in the night. But with every day endured, they came closer to spring, though they could not yet see it. For you, listening now, let this season become not a hardship, but a gentle dream. Imagine yourself walking those snow-covered lanes, your feet sinking slightly with each step, the hush of the world wrapping you like a blanket. Picture the cottages glowing with candlelight, windows frosted but warm within. A fire waiting for you. Every sound is softened, every sight slowed, every breath bringing peace. This world, once harsh and difficult, becomes, in your imagination, a place of stillness, of safety, of rest. You are not burdened by hunger or frost. You are simply here, a quiet observer wrapped in the peace of a winter long past. Your heart beating steady in time with the falling snow. And as we leave this part of the story, the village sleeps once more, fires burning low, children curled beneath rough blankets, their dreams carrying them beyond the cold. Outside, snow drifts silently, endless and soft, while the moon glows faint and steady above. Our story continues then as another day in the medieval village begins. Rooster crows, its call muffled under a blanket of snow, and smoke rises again from chimneys. But the cold is sharper today, the kind of cold that stings noses and makes breath feel like needles. The villagers know such mornings too well, when even the simple act of drawing water from the well becomes a test of willpower. The rope freezes stiff, the bucket rim crusted with ice, and every drop carried back must be guarded like treasure. Children wrap their hands in strips of cloth, cheeks flushed pink against the biting air as they trot carefully over the icy ground. Inside the cottages, the hearths are the heart of survival. A fire must never die. Imagine the crackling logs, glowing coals buried beneath the ash, waiting to be coaxed back into flame. The women tend them like sacred duties, blowing gently, feeding slivers of kindling until warmth blossoms again. The glow stretches across earthen floors, flickering against wooden beams. Close your eyes and feel the heat of it on your face. Hear the pop and hiss of sap boiling inside the wood. Round this fire, meals are prepared, thin broth seasoned with wild herbs gathered long before winter, or porridge made with grain rationed carefully, spoon by spoon. The men prepare for their daily labors. Some gather axes and head toward the woods, boots crunching heavily in the snow. Others lead oxen to plow paths or carry feed to livestock huddled in wooden sheds, their breath steaming in the frozen air. These animals are precious, each one a lifeline. Cows provide milk, chickens eggs, and sheep wool for warmth. Their survival is the villager's survival. The animals shiver, pressing close together, eyes reflecting torchlight in the dim sheds. Farmers move among them slowly, murmuring soft reassurances, voices low and steady. Can you hear it? The soft murmur of a man soothing his horse, the gentle rustle of hay, the faint snort of breath against the cold. Beyond the village walls, the forest stands tall and dark. Its branches are heavy with snow, bowing like solemn guards. Trappers venture inside with caution, laying snares for rabbits or foxes. Each step into the forest is a step into silence, spoken only by the distant call of a raven or the snap of a twig underfoot. Imagine walking there, the world muffled and still, your breath clouding the air, your ears straining to catch every sound. The forest holds both hope and dread, food for the hungry, danger for the careless. The crunch of snow beneath boots becomes a heartbeat, steady and slow, leading deeper into the unknown. Back in the cottages, the day stretches long. Spinning wheels turn, their soft whirring blending with the hum of voices. Wool is twisted into yarn, fingers working steadily despite the chill. Some carve small wooden tools, the scrape of knives rhythmic and soothing. Others patch torn clothing, needle pulling thread in and out of rough fabric. The stitches neat and small. Every action is deliberate, every task a step toward endurance. The rhythm of survival is like a lullaby, constant, steady, unhurried. You can imagine yourself sitting among them, your hands busy, your body warm near the fire, your mind drifting into quiet. As the pale sun lowers, the villagers share their evening meal, perhaps a loaf of dark bread, torn into pieces, dipped into stew thickened with barley, perhaps dried berries, chewed slowly, their sweetness. Fleeting but precious, they sit close, shoulders brushing, their voices soft. Stories are told again, tales of winters harsher than this one, of ancestors who endured with courage. There are tales of saints who brought miracles, of kings whose armies once marched through snow, of distant lands where winters are said to be mild. The children listen wide-eyed, their imaginations carrying them far beyond the small cottage walls. Firelight flickers in their eyes, and for a moment hunger and cold seem far away. Night falls, and with it comes the long stretch of darkness. The moon glows above the snow, pale and silver, and stars glitter like frost against the sky. Wolves howl in the distance, their voices rising over the hills, carrying into the village. It sends shivers down spines. But the villagers know the wolves rarely come too close. Still, mothers draw their children closer, whispering prayers beneath their breath. While men check the wooden fences once more, the sound fades and the silence returns. Deeper and heavier inside. Families gather close for warmth. Blankets made of wool and fur are layered thick. Children curled between parents, breathing slow and steady. Fire burns lower, embers glowing faintly, shadows dancing across the walls. Some sing lullabies, voices low and melodic, weaving peace into the night. Imagine lying there, listening to those gentle voices, the crackle of fire, the hush of wind against the roof. Each sound is soft, soothing, wrapping you in calm. And yet, winter is relentless. Cold spread quickly, coughs rattling in the night, fevers rising. A healer may be called, carrying herbs wrapped in cloth, mixing teas of elderflower and thyme, whispering charms for health. Her hands are rough but gentle, her voice steady, promising relief. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it does not. The villagers understand the season is a test, and not all survive it. Still, they face each day with quiet bravery, knowing that spring lies hidden just beyond their reach. Weeks pass, each day blending into the next. The snow grows heavier, blanketing the world in silence. Roofs sag under the weight, icicles grow long as swords, the river frozen thick. Yet slowly, quietly, change stirs. One morning, the sun lingers a little longer. The air is still cold, but softer. Birds return, faint at first, their calls echoing through the woods. Water trickles where ice begins to melt. Villagers notice these signs, small but certain, and hope blooms in their hearts. Spring is not here yet, but it is coming. And with that promise, the people endure, clinging to warmth, to each other, to faith. For you, dear listener, imagine yourself walking once more through that quiet village, the snow still deep, but the air lighter. Cottages glow, smoke curling into the twilight. You pass the fields, sleeping under frost, and you feel a calm certainty within you. The winter is long, yes, but it is not endless. Beyond it lies renewal, warmth, life. Each step you take is soft, steady, peaceful. Your body feels heavy, safe, wrapped in the hush of falling snow. The misery of winter becomes, for you, only a story to dream upon, a story to carry you into rest. And as the night closes, the village sleeps, the fire embers fading, the world wrapped in stillness. The snow continues to fall, soft and endless, carrying you into a deep and gentle slumber. Good, let's drift even deeper now. Imagine your breath as a soft fog in the frozen air. Slow, easy, steady. Your body is heavy, yet your mind floats lightly, like a candle flame sheltered from the wind. This final part of the story stretches out like the long winter night, endless at first glance, but filled with quiet beauty, carrying you toward the certainty of rest. The winter continues to hold the medieval village in its icy grip. Days are short, and nights stretch endlessly, but there is rhythm now. The villagers have fallen into the steady pattern of survival, where every action is deliberate, every choice careful. Hunger sharpens their senses, yet they learn to move with patience, conserving energy. The snow outside presses high against doors and walls, muffling the world in silence. At times, storms roll through, winds howling like spirits over the hills, rattling shutters and bending trees beneath their weight. Inside, the families huddle tighter, listening to the storm as though it were a living presence breathing at their door. On calmer days, children still find moments of joy. Their laughter, rare and fragile, rings out as they slide down snowy mounds, cheeks flushed red, mittens damp with ice. Even in hardship, the innocence of play cannot be erased. Parents watch, their eyes softening, reminded that life continues, that even in misery there is light. A carved wooden toy passes from one small hand to another, its edges worn smooth, carrying memories of siblings long grown. These little treasures, tokens of joy, become talismans of hope. In the evenings, as firelight flickers, stories grow longer and more elaborate. The bards and elders tell of winters so harsh that rivers turn to glass, and wolves prowled the streets, yet people survived. They speak of faraway kingdoms where winters are gentler, where flowers bloom even when snow falls. They weave legends of enchanted forests where spirits guard travelers, and of brave knights who face the bitterest cold to save their people. Children lean close, wide-eyed, and adults nod along, comforted by the shared remembering. In these tales, everyone finds warmth. The church bells toll softly on Sundays, their echoes rolling over the white fields. Villagers gather, stamping snow from boots, candles flickering in their hands. Inside the stone church, breath clouds the air, but prayers rise warmer than fire. They pray for mercy, for health, for spring's return. Priest's voice carries over the hush, steady and sure, reminding them that endurance is a kind of holiness. The chants and hymns reverberate, filling the cold space with sound that seems to touch even the rafters. Imagine standing there, shoulder to shoulder with villagers, listening to the harmony of voices rising like smoke, lifting your heart despite the chill. Yet beneath the surface, fear lingers. Food stores shrink with each passing week. The granary grows lighter, the salted fish fewer, the jars of pickled vegetables nearly empty. Families ration portions thinner, parents pretending they are full so children may eat more. Hunger gnaws quietly, a constant shadow. In some homes, sickness has taken hold, leaving coughs echoing through the night. Fevers burning too hot for the icy air to soothe. The healer moves from door to door, her basket of herbs lighter each time. Still, she offers what she can: warm teas, compresses, whispered comfort. Sometimes the body heals, sometimes it drifts away like a candle guttering in the wind. Death in winter is not loud, it is quiet, solemn, and accepted with bowed heads. Body is carried to the frozen ground, or prayer murmured. Grave dug shallow where earth will permit. Life continues because it must, but even in the bleakest moments there is resilience. Boy learns to set snares from his father, catching a rabbit that becomes the family's first meat in weeks. Woman discovers a hidden cache of dried apples forgotten in her loft and shares them with neighbors. A hunter returns from the forest with a deer, and the entire village feasts. Laughter spilling into the night, bellies full and spirits lifted. These small triumphs sparkle against the darkness, reminders that survival is not only endurance but also the courage to celebrate. When fortune appears, as winter slowly weakens, subtle changes stir the senses. One morning, frost patterns on windows melt more quickly. Another day, the snow softens, no longer as crisp underfoot. A bird's call rings sharp and clear, startling in its brightness. The villagers notice, their hearts quickening. They know the signs. Spring waits just beyond the horizon. Children rush outside at the first sign of thaw, splashing in puddles, their laughter freer, their eyes brighter. Parents smile, though cautiously, knowing winter always offers one last bite before it loosens its hold completely. At last, the season turns. Snow melts into rivulets, rushing into the river, breaking ice with a roar. Buds swell on branches, timid but brave, and the first shoots of green pierce through the soft earth. Villagers open shutters, letting sunlight stream in, warming rooms that had been cloaked in shadow for months. Fires still burn, but now more for comfort than survival. Meals grow heartier as stores are replenished with early herbs and foraged greens. Chickens lay eggs again, cows graze once more. Life renewing itself in quiet abundance, the people emerge stronger, marked by the hardship they have endured. They know that misery did not defeat them, but shaped them into something sturdier, more grateful. The children who once shivered now play barefoot in muddy fields, laughter carrying across the village. The elders smile knowingly, remembering all the winters they too have weathered, the cycle repeating as it always does. And you, dear listener, can feel this turning within yourself too. The cold, the struggle, the hunger all past. They are stories, nothing more, memories carried in time. You have walked with the villagers, felt their breath in the frost, their warmth by the fire, their sorrow and their hope. And now you to emerge into spring, lighter, freer, renewed. The heaviness of winter falls away from your shoulders like a cloak slipping to the ground. Rest here now. Feel the gentle breeze of spring brush against your cheek. Hear the soft trickle of melting snow. Smell the faint sweetness of new blossoms. You are safe. You are whole. You are surrounded by the timeless rhythm of life that endures, always moving from hardship to hope. And as you let yourself drift deeper into rest, know this: misery is never endless. The cold always gives way to warmth. Darkness always softens into light. Winter always bows to spring. So breathe slowly, deeply, and let yourself sleep, carried on the hush of the medieval village where the fire still glows, the snow still falls, and peace wraps you like a blanket.